Good morning, good evening, good night, depending on when you're hearing this. This is Primo Way. This is the one and only Mr. Garcia, also known as Mr. GTU, also known as the Antisocial Socialite. And with me is my Primo Way himself, Ronald, aka you see him. Ron, introduce yourself.
You already know. My name is Ron. Call me Ronald. You see him. And where the street meet at?
The street meet
Boss.
at. No pause. Live
That's
your truth.
a fact.
So, with that being said, hopefully you guys can hear me. This we will talk about today will be about biased opinions. So where this stems from is that me and my cousin just finished watching. I usually don't give free promo, so I'm not going to. Me and my cousin was watching a podcast with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul. If you want to look it up, you can, but I'm not giving free promo until somebody pays me for promo for our podcast. For our podcast. With that being said, we were listening to Rich Paul's opinion on how Michael Jordan marketing made him a greater than now presence, and that his marketing is the reason why people talk about Michael Jordan in folklore. So, with that being said, we are going to start. So Ron said he will let me talk my opinion first. So I will start off by saying, Rich, I do not know the man. I wish him nothing but the best. However, if people were to watch this, they will say that he was saying a bunch nothing. His reasoning for why Michael Jordan was great was because of Nike and Gatorade and how they were saying that he was marketed in such a way that he became a folklore. Has nothing to do with the fact that Michael Jordan was actually a great player. And that's what people seem to fail to understand time and time again. Now that I'm starting to relax, I don't feel like I'm forcing anything, so I'm just going to start speaking. I was old enough to watch Michael Jordan play. I was old enough to watch Michael Jordan lose, and that's what people don't understand. We see stories on YouTube, and they make it seem like, oh, Michael Jordan never lost. No, Michael Jordan lost a lot. He just happened to win when the time was right. Some people say, oh, he was in the NBA for, I think, 15 years and only got 6 championships. All true. The thing is, with those 6 championships, he got 2 3-peats. LeBron has never three-peated. Nobody can come to the conclusion that this man who's been in a championship 10 times, who's went to a championship 8 years straight, if I'm correct, still wasn't able to three-peat, even when he was able to not lock, but to stockpile his his team. LeBron teams was more like soccer teams or like baseball teams where you create super teams, and I know people don't want to hear that. However, he stacked his odds. That's the word I wanted to use. He truly stacked his odds, and people never want to talk about that. And that was something I was talking to my cousin with, where people the reason they call LeBron the GOAT is because of all these individual stats that he have. But then when you bring up that he has a losing record, the first thing people say is, well, it's a team game. And I constantly say time and time again, you can't have it both ways. If it's a team game, then it's a team game and a team reason why he won these championships and he got these records as well, because he wasn't the only one on the court. Back to my subject at hand before I go on a tangent in regards to Rich Paul. Michael Jordan was feared. That's what people don't understand. His need to win was better than his his acceptance of losing. Michael Jordan was 6'6", 210 pounds. That's regular. That's a regular man and think about it. Michael Jordan might be the same weight as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. LeBron James was basically Karl Malone on steroids. No pun intended to LeBron James. No pun intended. But what I'm trying to say is that as big as LeBron was, as far as physical specimen and his hype of coming from the high school to the NBA. Nobody feared LeBron, with the exception of maybe Toronto and Indiana, but nobody feared LeBron. So many people feared Michael Jordan. And even though the number one hater who might not ever hear this in the world, Isaiah Thomas, don't want to admit it, even the Detroit Pistons, even though they were beating Michael Jordan, they feared Michael Jordan so much that they made the Michael Jordan rules. That's what people don't understand. This man was a skinny twig, but since he was cooking them so much, they had to make rules for him. And for the fact that Rich Paul wants to turn around and say that the reason Michael Jordan has this aura or fixation that people have with him past his NBA career is because of marketing is incorrect and is sickening because you decided to have a biased opinion on Michael Jordan due to the fact that you have an allegiance to LeBron. That is nasty work. And I know more than likely I will never meet Rich Paul. However, he cannot say with a straight face that is the reason why Michael Jordan has the aura that he has. Michael Jordan was feared. He was even feared at 40 years old. Even feared at 40 years old. The fact that he came back at 40 and most people's like, well, he retired. Well, he did retire because he didn't want to stack the odds like other people. If he wanted to, he could have went to the Lakers. He was actually offered to go to the Lakers, but people don't know that. But he chose not to. He chose to sit out. When he came back to the NBA and he played for the Wizards, people don't know that he gave away his two paychecks. Let me take that back. He gave away both seasons' paychecks for the 9/11, but people don't recognize that. He basically paid for free. Now, some people will say, well, he was getting sneaker money at that time. But has anybody ever seen LeBron play for free? I digress. So, with that being said, I will say a little bit more, but I don't want to talk over Ronald. Ronald, can you please give me your opinion on what you thought about what Rich Paul was talking about in reference to talking about the reason Michael Jordan aura is bigger than it is because of marketing. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, I'm a LeBron fan, and I'll be honest, now that he's getting close to retirement, you know, I was one of those that couldn't see the wrong in LeBron. I would admit that. I would admit, and I will take accountability of this, that I was a little bit delusional when it came to LeBron and the way how he played back in the day and his stats and his longevity until this day. But I'm gonna be honest, Rich Paul is talking nonsense. Like, you gotta give. I understand that he's protecting his brand, which is the Clutch Sports, and a lot of people who are part of the Clutch Sports brand is like we was mentioning earlier, it's like a fraternity. So basically, part as being part of fraternity is a brotherhood. So you gotta support your brotherhood, but actually in the brotherhood, you gotta learn how to not be biased as well. You have to show some type of accountability. So what Rich Paul was talking about, I disagree on it because if a player is his greatness is at its highest peak like he was in the 90s. I didn't watch Jordan play. I was too young for that. But watching highlights and watching other people's interviews about Jordan, that he that people were scared of him. People was feared by him. So you got to give the man his flowers. Like the what got me, I just feel like what got me baffled was the crack. Was it the crack epidemic?
Yeah.
Like how you go from like the drug dealers was wearing suits and pants, so they changed it to be into like sneakers and jeans and all this stuff. Like, man, there's still people who sell dope in suits. So I don't understand. Like, it's just not. It depends on the environment. But I know he's talking about the black community and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But still, like, there's still people who still sell dope undersuits and all that stuff. But I just feel like I said, I didn't watch Jordan, but watching highlights and all the interviews and stuff like that, like everybody was feared by him. And and you watch Jordan, Primo. I have a question after this. What was the antics that he used to show people to be feared by him? Was it the
So
tequila?
you're funny. That's wild. I wasn't expecting that. No, the thing is, I don't know if you saw it on YouTube. There's a I think in 1997 there was the Con Man game where Jeff Van Gundy accused Michael Jordan of being a con man and basically said that the reason he was so nice to people is because he wants them to be his friend, and that when he plays them he guts them out, which is ironic because what Max Kellerman said is that he used to get people riled up to get them at their best, so that when he played them and he beat them, that he know that he beat them at their best. But the thing about it, Michael Jordan was psychotic, Primo. Like, I don't know if you ever heard about. Oh God, I think it was. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm really drawing a blank, but it was a Washington Wizards a player, and the legend goes that the Washington Bullets player, um, he did well one game versus the Bulls, and he scored I think 35 points. And legend goes, which we turned out. I'll tell the story afterwards. Well, I'll finish the story. Legend goes that after the game, he told Michael Jordan, "Good game." Bradford Smith. Bradford Smith is the name of the guy from the Washington Bullets. I'm glad it popped back up in my head. So he said allegedly to Michael Jordan, "Good game." And Michael Jordan was like, in his head, he was like, "What you said to me? Good game? Boy, you ain't nobody." So the next game, Michael Jordan scored 37 in the first half. And then I think he finished the game with like 50 something, right? And everybody was like, "Yo, why did you do that to the Washington Bullets?" And Michael Jordan, be that as it may, made up a lie. He said, "Yeah, the game before he told me good game when he beat me." And everybody was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe LeBradford Smith said that to him." Turns out later on, down the line, like 10 years, 15 years later, Michael Jordan made that up, Primo. The nigga made up a lie.
Wow.
The nigga made up a lie so that he can be angry, so that he could cook him. You want to know who Michael Jordan was? I'm gonna put it this way: Michael Jordan is sometimes his outside demeanor is like Kawhi Leonard, but his inside is like Russell Westbrook. You know how Russell Westbrook plays with so much rage, but you can see it?
Yeah.
That's Michael Jordan. He makes up shit in his head to be like, "Yo, you trying to play me." Now, let's go back to the con man game that I told you about in 1997. So the Bulls was playing in the United Center, if I'm correct. And it was a close game, Primo. Close game. And all of a sudden, Michael Jordan turned it on. And the whole time, Amar Rashad, he likes to ask questions to Michael Jordan because that's his ace boom cool. And he asked him, he's like, "Hey man, how you feeling?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm okay, I'm okay." But that whole game, you could see Michael Jordan like cooking up, cooking up, cooking up. So in the fourth quarter, Michael Jordan went off, and the second to last play, or maybe the last play, I think he crossed over Allen Houston, and he pulled up and he hit this jump shot. And after he hit the jump shot, Michael Jordan pointed at Jeff Van Gundy. And I don't know if you could read his lip. Oh shit. You still there, Priya?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, sorry. I thought you fell off for a second. I don't know if you could read his lips, but basically Michael Jordan was pointing to Jeff Van Gundy, and he was basically saying, "I'm a motherfucking con man to you. I look like a con man to you." And Jeff Van Gundy wouldn't look up at him, Primo. He couldn't do it.
Wow.
He had him shook. That's the Michael Jordan I know, Primo. That's the Michael Jordan I know.
Okay.
Like some
Yeah,
games I did. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. LeBron didn't have that,
He don't.
except for that one game. Except for that one game, Primo.
He
That
had
game
that. I think
six.
he had that one game versus. I think it was Toronto, where I think somebody called him a bitch or something. He went off, and I think it was
Yeah,
versus Chris Bosh and the Toronto Raptors before Chris Bosh got to the Heat. I think he was still with the Cavaliers. He went off on that game. But other than that, he don't have that in him. Pause.
nah.
But he don't have that in him. Another game is when two. He was playing. He actually lost one game. Let me tell, because the legend of Michael Jordan is that he never loses the game when he gets angry. So there was a game where, if I'm correct, I think they were playing I think it was the Indiana Pacers. I could be wrong. And it was Eddie Johnson. I think it was Eddie Johnson that was on the team. And Eddie Johnson told this story on YouTube, basically saying that it was like, I think 8 minutes left and they were up by like 17, 18. And Eddie Johnson turned to Michael Jordan and said, "Why are you still in the game? The game is over." Got they? He turned to Michael Jordan and told him, "Why are you still in the game? The game is over." Michael Jordan, I think, scored 15 to 16 points in the fourth,
Okay.
In the fourth. He scored 15 to 60 points. The Pacers, I think it was the Pacers. I don't want to be quoted, but they won the game. Jordan lost the game. But some people they only talk shit when they losing. I mean when they winning. But after that game, somebody asked. I think it was who was the Pacers coach back then? Oh my God, the one who coached the Detroit Pistons. Oh my
Larry
God,
Brown.
Larry Brown. I think it was Larry Brown, and I think Larry Brown asked Eddie Johnson. He said, "What did you say to him?" And he said, "Why is he still on there?" And Larry Brown, the coach, said, "Why did you say that to him?" That's how much he was feared, Primo. Think about it. That's how much he was feared that even the coach said, "Why did you say that to him?" Even though they was winning, they said, "Don't talk to that man like that." And even after they lost, Michael Jordan came to Eddie Johnson and he told him, "You lucky, but next time, shut your damn mouth when you talk to me." You think that's
Mm.
in Bron?
Oh no. Only
It's,
only if you call him a bitch. Then
yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's the legend of Michael Jordan, Primo. And this is
Yeah.
why this guy had biased opinions, Primo. That's why I'm not understanding. And like that's what I meant to speak to you about. So I'm gonna ask you a question, and maybe because it's you and I, and we have an honest and open relationship, not just
Hmm.
family, but just in friendship as well. Do you think that if I made more money than you, that you wouldn't be honest with me?
Of course, I'll be honest.
Do you think that if you're on my payroll, that you feel the need that you would need to lie to me?
Now I don't need to lie to you.
That's because it's a real friendship.
Hmm.
I don't, this is my opinion. For those who may listen to this is my opinion. I think these people who run with LeBron want to cherish their relationships, so they stroke his ego and they don't tell him the truth. And I think that's what Rich Paul does. And you ever heard the saying, "You don't need to rain on nobody's parade to make your sun shine"? That's what he does all
Yeah.
the time.
Hmm.
Every time he's on, and nothing's every or always. However,
Yeah.
there are very rare exceptions, and Rich Paul is the exception to the rule. He's always trying to diminish Michael Jordan to make LeBron look good. That's all he
Like
does.
I,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
like I said, it's a fraternity. They gotta protect their brothers, and fraternities, they want to keep, they gonna say everything to make the man look good, LeBron look good in this case.
Even when
You
he's a
know,
loser. Go ahead.
exactly. Look at Draymond.
Draymond
Draymond
nasty work.
thinking, yeah, Draymond out there partying with him, saying that he's the GOAT, even though like we see how Bronny plays, he still defend Bronny because he's part of the whole Clutch Sports fraternity group and all that stuff.
Nasty
The
work,
only
man.
like, yeah, but like I said, like even like I respect Melo, D Wade, like the whole thing with the Stephen A. stuff, Stephen A. Smith shit going on.
Hmm.
You know, they even said it like we know Braun and stuff like that, but we're not gonna let we're not gonna talk bad about you, Stephen A. And I think that was some real shit. That's a real true friendship from there.
Yeah,
Like Stephen A. and Melo, Stephen A. and D Wade, you know, they know that whole situation is going on, but they're not gonna like talk shit about him because he's fucking with LeBron and shit. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's real friendship. But like I said, that whole clutch sports, I don't know. That might be part of the fraudulent activities.
definitely indeed. And you know what the thing about it? Even though we're sticking to the biased opinions when it comes to Rich Paul, what I'm gonna say is this. The problem that LeBron has with Stephen A. Smith is that Stephen A. Smith knows the truth about LeBron and how LeBron is a gatekeeper and how he keeps people from certain things. And LeBron has manufactured this persona as a goody two shoes. And don't get it twisted, Michael Jordan was not no goody two shoes as well. Because we know that we seen the last dance where he was out there gambling, just throwing quarters. So you can only imagine what he did when the cameras wasn't watching. But
Oh yeah, we
LeBron,
know. But
go ahead,
yeah,
go ahead, go ahead.
the tequila, Primo, you can't forget about that.
My nigga, you keep talking about this goddamn tequila. You need to relax. I'm starting to believe you got bias. You might be part of Clutch Sports right now. The way you keep
Nah,
bringing
nah,
this up.
nah,
I
nah,
got
nah.
fear. Every time you talk, you keep on talking about this tequila. Listen, that's winning tequila, Primo. Winning tequila.
Heard
You
you. My
understand?
bad, my bad,
Winning
my
tequila.
bad.
You know he got a top shelf one that's called 6-0, right?
Say word.
Nah, I'm making that up, but it sounds
I
believable
know,
because
I know,
I'm
I know.
dealing with
It
a
sounds
winner.
good.
It sounds good because you listen. You drinking that 4 and 6 tequila over there
Nah, I don't know, Primo.
below 500. That's
Yeah,
not top shelf, Primo.
it's not. He's gonna retire soon, Primo.
Maybe, nigga.
Hmm.
However,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back to Stephen A. Smith. He's exposing Braun for the fraudulent activities, like you like to say, in regards to he's a gatekeeper and he holds puppeteers on certain things. I already told you how I felt about how LeBron was out there freaking lying to Anthony Davis to go over there. And when he went over there, he never gave him the number 23 ever. Remember?
yeah.
And even
Mhm.
when he decided that he was going to switch to 6, he still didn't get 23 back. And I've been called that. And word to everything we love. Two things I call Primo, and you can call me out as a liar. I've been said that LeBron was going to leave Cleveland and go to I didn't know he was going to go to Miami, but I knew he was going to leave. Am I lying?
You're telling the truth.
The second thing is I knew that he was going to G Anthony Davis to go to the Lakers, talking about you can wear my number. And I said, and I quote, Anthony Davis is never gonna get that number. Am I lying, Primo?
Nah, you're not lying.
And once again, I said that this is about to be the last run. And I truly believe that the NBA is getting back at him because he's not a starter. And usually being a starter is a popularity contest. But you know what I don't understand is that how everybody could say that they're in the uproar about LeBron not being a starter after he's been a starter all those years. However, in Michael Jordan's last year, he wasn't a starter. Vince Carter was a starter.
Yeah, and he gave it up
And
for
Vince Carter
Paul.
gave it up. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
wild. That was wild. That was wild. I accept you for who you are. Trust me. If you love the Skittles, you love the Skittles. But but yeah, he gave up his spot for Michael Jordan. Who you think is gonna give up the starting spot for LeBron? Do you think anybody would
Well,
do it?
nah, because I don't even like the whole Team World versus Team US. I mean, Team USA. I don't like that whole skit right now.
Okay.
Because if you But even
Okay.
that, nobody's not gonna give up their spot for
All right.
LeBron.
Since we're talking about biased opinions and how everything is just coming together and how we're speaking, do you
Hmm.
think that LeBron is the reason why the All Star game is trash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because my opinion, this is just my opinion once again. I watched
Hmm.
All Star games since I was a kid. Even though it was blowouts, it was always competitive. The greatest All Star game I've ever seen, if I'm correct, might be the one in 2001, if I'm correct, where Allen Iverson and Stephon Marbury led a comeback versus the West in Washington D.C. I think the game was in Washington D.C. The greatest game I ever seen in my life, Primo. That was up there. That's one of the best games because basically everybody was saying the game was over by the end of the third quarter, and they came back, Primo. One of the greatest games I ever saw in my life. That's the great matter of fact greatest All Star game, not the greatest game I ever saw in my life. Um, but that's not like today. Riley, sorry, Primo, I am back. Sorry for
Yeah.
the delay if somebody heard that. Yeah, so I truly believe that if he was supposed to be the leader that he was and talking about branding and that Rich Paul wants to talk about branding so much, you can't brand LeBron as a leader. And if you're branding him as the beginning of player empowerment, look at what happened to player empowerment now. Players don't want to play. Players want to get paid. Players want popularity for not doing anything. Like, I'm not saying LeBron is not a great player. However, if we're going to bring everything back full circle to what made Michael Jordan popular, I think I said it to you before, and I'm going to say it again on this podcast. Michael Jordan went through the struggle. He went through a real struggle, and he stayed with the same franchise, even when he had the chance to leave. That's what people don't understand. He could have left after his contract was up. He renewed this contract. However, against people's opinion, when LeBron did it, they was like, "Oh no!" But how many people want to go to Chicago than Cleveland? They ain't too far off from each other. They're not really too far from each other. And if Michael Jordan played for Cleveland, I truly believe he still would have won a championship in Cleveland. But that's the thing that people fail to understand. You were part of that crew, and yeah, you could speak on this. You were part of the crew that said it was business. At first, I used to feel some type of way. And you could admit to it. I'm like, man, that's not how you play basketball because if you really want to win, you want to win the right way. What is the right way? That depends on other people. However, you can't give LeBron credit for doing something and then diminish Kevin Durant for doing the same thing because the only difference is like, oh, that team beat him. However, the reason Kevin Durant did it is because he saw LeBron do it. So what is your opinions on that? Do the struggle makes the journey better or does it even matter to you, Ron?
Well, the struggle makes the journey better, in my opinion, because it's just you build a lot of like competitiveness, you build toughness, because the struggle is basically all mental. It's like it shows like your perseverance. You're gonna give up, or you're just gonna ride a wave and see what you can make out of your struggle. Well, in today's NBA,
The
I
one that
just
you
feel
love.
like
The one that you love so much because I'm going to let you finish, but this is a totally different narrative than the conversations we had before, Primo. Totally
yeah,
different because you
yeah,
used to make fun of me for having my morals. I'm going to let you speak. I
yes,
just wanted to say that. Go ahead.
yeah, because like I said, when I was grew up playing ball, even you used to tell me that, yo, you gotta learn how to do a post move. And ever since you influenced me to get a post move, that's when I began playing the post, you become unstoppable. It's not but a skill set, and you become unstoppable. That's how I feel like the struggle is way much better than stacking up the odds. Well, I'll say this in today's NBA. like I said, just like there's no real guidance out here. You know, there's not like in the '90s. You had veteran players that
Hmm.
was there for the upcoming superstars. Now there's no more veterans. Like even like probably who's the oldest like LeBron besides LeBron? Like the veteran players that we have now. Like if you go in every team in the NBA right now, who's a veteran there to
Maybe 30,
guide these?
maybe 30 years old at
Is
that, and I doubt it.
exactly, and they're not even hit their prime yet at 30. They're not even the top superstar. It's just that there's not enough veterans in each team that help guide these young players to see that it's okay, the struggle is okay, but what you're gonna do next season to be better, or get your team and gravitate your team to be better, and that's what's wrong. And that's what's wrong with today's NBA's. Like it's just not enough veterans, and plus, I know this is a little off topic, but look at college. They getting the NIL deals. They make good what? A good 5 million. They flip it and just make more money out of that. So it's like, why should I go to the NBA if I'm getting this deal in college and I could just flip it on Bitcoin or crypto and get 10 times the money once I finish college? And they're gonna keep on doing the same thing as well. So it's just that the guidance that we have in today's NBA is just not there. And like I said, I understand we had this conversation that it's you can't like you can't put your morals on today's game. At this point, today's game is all messed up because of Steph Curry and the way the NBA is going. They favor the offense of the game instead of the defensive game. They don't like to see competitiveness no more. They just want to see people shoot, shoot, shoot. Whoever could score 150 to 160 points a night, that makes everybody go crazy. It's the direction we're going as the NBA. Until the NBA change that, that we'll never the struggle will never be there anymore. It will just be easy pieces of all these new upcoming draft picks and new upcoming player that's coming into the league right now.
Exactly. I agree with you. And before I answer your question, um, for the people who is listening, stay tuned because me and Ron will have another podcast against with the when talking about the NIL and college sports, because that's another podcast that we should do, because I have a strong opinion when it comes to that I will not say on this. However, I'm going to go back to the other topic that you spoke about when it comes to not pushing my morals on today's players. The thing about it is that LeBron and my sister is the same age, and me and my sister is only a year and a half apart. So, like, when I look at people might take this terminology the wrong way, the facade of LeBron and the biased opinion and not the honesty of Rich Paul, because this all goes back to Rich Paul once again. I understand that you are his agent. You would need to make sense of LeBron going to a team with fellow top five picks to win a championship and then trying to find a way to make it look good and saying that he went through the struggle to win a championship. Yes, you still do have to play the game to win a championship, which I truly understand. You have to play the season, then you have to play the playoffs. However, once again, you took a route that would be deemed easy. You remember, Ronald, when I was speaking to you and I said something along the terms of, and this is when this is not even so much younger. Your thinking was different when I said, Ron,
Yeah.
if I play you in the street and I play you with a bunch of 6 foot dudes, because me, I'm 5'10" and 3/4. Most people are like, why would you say that 3/4? Because I'm not lying and saying I'm 5'11", but I'm 5'10" and 3/4. But if I play with a bunch of 6 foot dudes and I beat a bunch of 6'3", 6'4" dudes, I'm gonna feel more accomplished than if I play 6'3", 6'4" dudes and I brought a bunch of 6'8", 6'9" dudes with me. That's how I felt about LeBron. And that's what I used to tell you. And you used to have a certain saying, like, and I was like, nah, I know you too well to come to me with that bullshit. Me beating you with tall people in the streets is basically the same thing as LeBron stacking the odds to win the championship. And that's why I couldn't respect it. The Cleveland championship might be the only one I actually count. But people were like, you're a hater and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm just looking logically. That's how I look at it. Logically. I'm the same person that said, and I quote, I think that Steph Curry winning that first championship versus LeBron has a asterisk on it also. Because Kevin Love got his arm pulled out by Kelly Olynyk. Kyrie blew out his kneecap in game one. That would have been a great series. See, I'm not biased. I speak through a logical pendulum, and a lot of people are gonna say, "Well, every championship, there's a thing where somebody possibly got hurt." Even though people will say that in the 1996 championship, when the Bulls went 72-10, and for people who are listening, the real greatest team of all time because they won the championship, not the Golden State Warriors who went 73-9. However, back to my point, I'm saying they say, well, Gary Payton was hurt in the 1996 um finals. He had a straight calf. My nigga, he was on the court. I ain't trying to hear that shit. If you playing,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't hurt. So for those people who trying to make excuses, fuck. If you look at game one, not game one, I regress. If you look at the first championship that the Bulls played, Michael Jordan and those Air Jordan 6s, he had a slit on the toe because he had a bad toe. He had a bad toe playing in the finals. But did he make an excuse? No. He played. Maybe that's why his feet so goddamn ugly. But that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
The point is
Yeah.
he
He
didn't
threw
make
some tequila in
excuses.
there.
You and this fucking tequila, tia. But the point I'm trying to say is that he played through it. Did he? And hypothetically, he never lost a finals. But if he lost an NBA finals, how would we look at Michael Jordan if he didn't say anything about his foot, and then all of a sudden when he lose, he comes to the podium with a cast on his foot? Go ahead, Ron. Tell me how you would feel. You quiet because that's what your man's did. Nigga said, "Oh, I broke my hand, pussy." Now y'all hearing me. This is for the world that's hearing me. Pussy. I don't know who's gonna hear this, but I'm gonna say it again. Pussy. Now all of a sudden your hand broke.
like I
Go ahead.
like I said, Primo, he's a sore loser, Primo.
Always been.
He's a sore loser. Yep. He can't take accountability, bro. He got his ass whooped. That's it. He just never took accountability that, damn, I lost. I gotta get back. See, that's the thing, like they always say, the mentality. Your greatness is always measured on your failures and how you overcome them.
Now you
And
talking. Now you talking. You might need some of this tequila, this winter tequila. Go ahead, man.
yeah, Primo. Yeah, so I'm gonna say it again. Your greatness is measured on your failures and how you overcome them. And with LeBron, every time he failed, he's a sore loser. And that's probably he wasn't taught that when he was in the collegiate, or I'll say collegiate, when he was in high school and all that stuff. It
Um,
was hard for him to take accountability.
no daddy.
I
Go
know
ahead.
he never. yeah.
My bad.
yeah. So yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, he didn't have someone to teach him what accountability is. And like I'll be the first to admit, he's a sore loser. He just don't want to look bad. It's worse. You just need to take the L. Like, yo, I got my ass whooped. Next year I'm coming back. That's it. If you would have came out with that mentality every finals that he lost, we might just be looking at a different outcome. You know, but when, like I said, it's just proven like in his theory of stacking the odds. It just showed that, yo, bro, you stack the odds and you're a loser. So what that says, like, you stack the odds for no reason. You probably would better off with the players that you have and develop with them, or not, or having the players and you develop yourself internally and mentally, saying that I could do this with them. I just like you just need their trust. You need their like Jordan used to say, he didn't trust them, but he had to trust somebody. Or you just develop your game. Like like you what 6'9", 260? You could go to paint all you want, but you could do a post move. He ain't developed a post game to what, 10 years ago? If he would have had that with the finals where they lost to Dallas, who knows? They probably
Man,
would have won.
yep. If he would learn how to hit,
But,
the thing about it is that, and I do not mean to cut you off. They say this guy has the
hmm
most beautiful brain in the world when it comes to the game of basketball. They say the man has photographic memory and stuff like that. However, he still can't learn how to hit over 85% of his free throws. If the man has a beautiful mind and he has photographic memory, wouldn't he be able to remember the perfect free throw stroke, no pause, to hit free throws like like Stephen Curry or like Reggie Miller or like who else is a good free throw shooter? Shea Gilgeous Alexander, like all these
Ray,
things, or Dirk Nowitzki.
Ray,
You know what I'm saying? Ray Allen.
hmm
Like these things I don't
yeah,
understand because people who be, pardon my French, nah, fuck that shit, no pardon my French. People who be dick eating LeBron James, they only point out things that make them feel well. They say, oh man, he's the most intelligent person. However, this is the same person who said this team is top heavy. I'm not making that up. You know that, right? He said that.
yeah. I know.
It's documented. Like people like to say, this is documented. I'm not snitching. He said we're a top heavy, which means that he didn't believe in his teammates. But then they say, oh man, he's like one of the greatest teammates. No, he's not. When he can't use you, he gets rid of you. But then Michael Jordan, yeah, he punched Steve Kerr in the face, but then he passed him the ball for the championship shot. You see the difference here? And then you got LeBron talking
Yeah,
about that's my man on IG, and then 2 weeks later the nigga's traded. That's a snake ass nigga. And I know I made the
that's
joke about
that's a fact.
yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. And I know I made the joke about my LeBron James not having a dad and not having accountability, but I don't know who's gonna hear this, but I'm gonna send this straight anyway. Cam Newton was born with a daddy and a mommy, and that nigga don't have accountability either. So I don't know if he ever gonna hear this. However, Cam Newton, you're a sore loser too, nigga, because when you lost in the Super Bowl, you ain't want to speak to nobody. So with all that being said, I respect you. I respect how you dress like a goofy, or in your own terms, you're an individual person. Keep it going, my nigga. Keep peacocking. No pause, but you're a sore loser too. So I don't want, if somebody hears this in the world and it's like, oh, you sending astray. No, because I want this to be stated. Just because you were born with parents or without a parent does not mean that you have accountability or non-accountability. Because when you were saying, and when you said LeBron has no accountability, and I said, oh, he didn't grow up with a dad, it made me think of Cam Newton because he's the same type of nigga who grows with a dad and says he love his daddy, but then his daddy should have told him, nigga, when you lose, you stand up like a man and you talk. Because when he lost in the Super Bowl, and this is accounted, that nigga was soaking. You ever saw a happy loser or show you a loser? That's Cam Newton saying that. So what that tells me is that your daddy, you want to be an alpha male so much. You only saying you're an alpha male because you 6'5", 260 pounds. I get it, my nigga. You big as hell. No pause. But the fact of the matter is this. You big, and I hate the terminology alpha male. That just means that you want niggas to hear you when you speak. Nigga, we can hear you speak and you still not saying shit. That's why I hate the terminology alpha male. I know I'm going on a tangent right now because that's what made me think about what you just said when you was like no accountability and I screamed out that LeBron had no daddy. I didn't have no daddy either and I got accountability. So it just made me think of when Cam Newton lost and he ain't want to talk to nobody and nigga was sitting there like a sad puppy and he was just sad and it just made me think like this nigga always talking about his pops and shit, but his pop should have been like, yo, keep your chin up, little nigga. You should talk like a man because the same way you talk when you win, You should be able to talk like that when you lose. And I know once again this may sound like I'm sending a stray to Cam Newton, but that's why the NFL don't want you, nigga. Keep doing your shows. All right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But like he's like, how are these people getting these jobs? Because of you, nigga. That's why. Because when you lost, you was a pussy ass nigga about it. No disrespect. I really don't mean that disrespectfully. But he needs to look back on his own life. And even if he hears this, he's gonna be like, who is this bum ass nigga I never heard of saying this? My name is Mr. Garcia, and I'm saying to you, you are more famous than me, yes. You have more money than me, yes. However, the one thing you don't have better than me is accountability. Because when you lost, you ain't stick your chin up. And you got a big ass chin, Cam Newton. You ain't stick your chin up. You was soaking like a little kid. And if your kids did the same thing, you would have felt some type of way about it. And that's why nobody wants you in the NFL. You want to say that you want to be a starter? Good. Go start in the USFL. They'll love you over there, nigga. Other than that, the NFL is done with you. So back to what I was saying when it comes to Rich Paul. Rich Paul, Mr. Rich Paul, Mr. Rich
Yeah,
Paul.
man.
Another rich person. I get it. Y'all got more money than me. This is just another person with a podcast talking. However, I'm not talking from a biased opinion. All I am saying is if you're going to say that Michael Jordan is the greatest because of marketing, you also have to say he is the greatest because of the obstacles that he overcame. And that's what got me mad at Max Kellerman because he should have gotten that ass with Rich Paul and said the reason why Michael Jordan is who he is and not because he's a maniac winner is because he overcame and he won and he stayed in the same spot that he did. He didn't want to take a shot at Rich Paul, but I'll do it. Rich Paul, your man jumped around and you're okay with that because you still want to get money with him. But when you have integrity, it's bigger than more money is not bigger than morals and integrity. And that's what me and Ron got going for us. Like if somebody offers me something and they want me to do a podcast with somebody else and not do it with Ron, I'm not taking it because of my integrity. I'd rather make money with people I know who's gonna watch my back than to make money with somebody who's gonna shit on me and talk behind me. That's the difference. And that's why we're bringing everything full circle when it talks about biased opinions. I don't need Ronald to be biased towards me because Ronald will tell me the truth, just like I will tell him the truth. And if you're a true friend, your opinion should not be bought. You should not be fearful because he should be he should be up there and say, you know what, LeBron is one of the top 5 players of all time. But the thing is, when people decide to look at it from a longevity standpoint that we spoke about earlier, they're like, he has the most points. He has the most assists. But you want to know something before we get off this podcast? You know how people love to say that LeBron had a streak of having double digit points? And the
Yeah.
thing is, there's a trick to that, Ronald, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. Everybody likes to say that LeBron had a double digit streak and he never broke it. And then in the same breath, they want to say that he scored over 50,000 points if you count the playoffs. But then nobody wants to count the fact that when he played in the Dallas finals, he had single digits. So therefore, his single digit streak ended a long time ago. You could talk. Go ahead.
Yo, Primo, you on the road today. You on the road today.
That's what I'm saying,
But
man.
they,
Go ahead.
yeah, but they have to control the narrative. So
Exactly.
yeah. So the playoffs doesn't count. They were just talking about regular season.
No,
You
they
know.
actually said that he had over 50,000 points accumulated if you count the playoffs.
Yeah,
But then they don't want to
yeah,
count
that's
the
true.
playoffs as the single digits.
Nah, they don't
See?
because
It's a
on that
narrative.
on that on that game 6 and that final, didn't he score 8 points?
Exactly. So therefore,
Yeah.
he's technically started a new record after that game, but they don't want to bring it up. That's why they don't want. Listen, whoever's listening to this, I hope this reaches the top people somewhere where somebody allows me to go on ESPN or Fox or somewhere good, so I can speak the truth to the world, so I can let them know that you guys have been spinning a narrative for a false king. Just think about it this way, Ronald. You know what? I know that we said we was almost done, but I'm gonna bring it back again.
All right.
How Rich Paul wanted to talk about how Nike was pushing the narrative for Michael Jordan. People need to understand once again, if Michael Jordan was a loser, nobody would have bought Gatorade, nobody would have bought Nikes, bro. Nobody buys loser sneakers. Another thing, people need to understand that when LeBron James came from high school to Nike, one of the first commercials was him in a church talking about he was the chosen one. They pushed the narrative for LeBron too. Rich Paul did not bring that up. That's the thing I don't understand. They pushed the narrative that they pushed the narrative so much that Carmelo Anthony, who had a slightly better regular season than LeBron James, wasn't even considered for a co-rookie of the year, even though he was in a harder conference and he made it to the playoffs with a team that didn't make to the playoffs. That's what marketing does for LeBron, but people don't want to talk
Yeah.
about that. See, when you hear me speak, whoever listens to this and hears me speak, they're gonna understand that I'm not being biased. Like Ron
Mhm.
said, the tequila, yeah, tequila, gambling, all that shit. He was still a winner. That's the thing.
Mhm.
This man spends almost $1 million, $2 million on his body. 4 and 6. If that's the case, give me the tequila, my nigga. I want to be tequila. I want tequila. I want to win. That's what I'm saying. So people
I
need to
got you.
understand that, bro. If tequila makes you
Yeah.
a winner and not sleeping and having orange eyes in your 50s and 60s, give me that tequila, man.
I feel you. You know.
But if you take care of your body, you go in the hyperbolic chamber and you do all the right things and you still 4 and 6, man, keep all that, my nigga. I'm good. I'm good. So, with that being said, I'm going to say it again. It is not cool to have narratives. And, oh shit, I think I'm about to catch a cramp. It's not cool to have narratives. It's not cool to have narratives. And it's not
you
cool.
about to get
I gotta move
you
my
about to get that LeBron cramp.
uh, toe too. That's worse. It's, it's not cool to get it. It's not cool to have narratives, and it's just cool to be honest, knowing who you are. So, Ron, do you have anything you need to say before we get off? Because I'm about to catch a cramp in my toe.
I see, bro. But all I gotta say is this: like, what Rich Paul did was nasty work, man. And like I said, he's doing what he gotta do to protect his man image. But I will say this: even though I'm a LeBron fan, I'm not biased. I will say the truth, and I did take accountability that I was one of those delusional fans and did talk about he was longevity. You know, he got the most points. You know, it's a team sport and all that stuff. That was me. But now, now that he's close to like retirement and all that stuff, you gotta look at his legacy and see what he did. And I'll be honest, like LeBron's a great player, but he just don't have that dog in him. Only if you call him a bitch. That's the only time he gonna. That's the only time he gonna play for real. Like me, Muggy, he be like, "Oh, I'm coming for your neck," but does that always have to be that way? Like you gotta be called a bitch to get that dog out of you. Like I said, if you put this, if even imagine this, if LeBron had a killer instinct, he probably would be,
6 and 4,
yeah, pretty much.
maybe 7 and 3. Who knew?
hmm But we will never get to see that.
Never. We never
Mm,
will.
yeah,
I
man.
truly
But
appreciate your input, Ron. I felt like I did a
of
lot of
course,
talking, but we did bounce off each other with the conversation. I truly appreciate that.
of
I
course.
guess I got too riled up, and that's when my freaking
Yeah.
toes started getting cramped up.
I tell you, you got that LeBron crap.
Yeah, man, I was too hyped, man. I felt it in my spirit. I, so I'm gonna have to finish and drink some Gatorade because my toes is really cramping up. So with that being said, I'll make a ending statement with Ron. True friends do not lie to you, do not lie for you. They put things in honest perspective so that they know that they're truly your friend. A real friend does not lie for you to make you feel better. Sometimes the best thing to do is to let the person know the truth. And with that being said, Mr. Paul, you're not a true friend. You are a business partner of LeBron who just happened to know him for a long time. So I will give my ending statements and in stating that whoever was able to listen to this for a long time, truly appreciate you. Um, this is just me and Ronald's thoughts. Please don't take it to heart, especially you, Cam Newton, if you ever do listen to this. Just look in the mirror and look at your past statements in life and when you lost. I'm not as famous as you, I'll say that again. However, you need to look in the mirror and when you lost and how you used to act. That's why the NFL don't want you. So, for anybody who is listening to this, um, each one teach one. Um, show love. You never know when the last day is your last. So show appreciation. Um, peace, love, and make sure that you just show love to each other, man. And Ron, you want to say anything else before we out?
Yeah, and I would say just like this, yo, stay away from the fraudulent activities, bounce checks, you know, um, and I don't know if I could say a bomb, but I'm not meaning that case, but like you said, stay away from the frauds, you know,
Stay away. Stay away
Like-
from the frauds, like you
and
said, man.
and like they always say, sometimes the toughest decisions give you blessings, and you just gotta find out your blessings. That's all I gotta say.
Deep thoughts, man. I have nothing else to say, man. Peace out to everybody. Later. One.
Peace.